I gotta say, this black and red color scheme's gotta be one of my favorites. Also pay no attention to the flickering snow as I'm zoomed in there. But anyway, today we've got a replay featuring Dark Elves versus Dwarfs. So it's a classic matchup, certainly. And let's just get straight to the builds. This one, I believe, was from its current year. My voice is still a little bit crackly and gross, so I apologize for that. Still a little bit under the weather, but let's go ahead and take a look at the builds here. Got a Supreme Sorceress of Shadows, Shades on each flank with some Black Arc Corsairs and some Bleak Swords in the center. Got some Dark Shards with shields as well, 5 of them scattered around, and the Regiment of Renowned Harpies. So yeah, looks like actually two Shades on each flank. So going all in on the infantry missiles to try and just shoot the dwarfs to death with armor-piercing crossbows. Let's see how much merit there is to that for the dwarfs. They've got plenty of dwarf warriors as a front line here. Yeah, lots of dwarf warriors, some longbeards mixed in there as well, miners with blasting, charges, and some Bugman's Rangers as the final line with Thorek Ironbrow and some gyrocopters. Let's get things underway. And it's quite a wide army on both sides, so I'm interested to see how this goes. Corsairs, of course, do trade fairly well as long as they don't get destroyed by missiles on the approach. So let's see. Let's see how they do. I mean, the Shades and the Dark Shards are really the most dangerous part, right? So you can see them already focusing down a couple of minor units here, trying to tear away their unit models, not allow them to use their blasting charges to destroy the Corsairs, because you can see without the blasting charges, Corsairs are doing quite well in handling these Dwarf Warriors, but the charges definitely turn things against them pretty heavily, doing like half their HP damage there. So, and that's even with like a half-strength unit of miners. I mean, I guess they have most of their unit models still, but yeah, oof, brutal stuff as Dark Shards get exploded, and the Cairns of Cain come down on the ground here. I don't know if that was a misclick, if they meant to go after the gyrocopters, but regardless, Dark Elves definitely getting some pain on that initial engagement, but returning it in kind. Looks like we're going to see a little pendulum, very nicely done, from the Sorceress of Shadows there. Yeah, Supreme Sorceress of Shadows. Let's actually take a look at her spells, what she's got going on here. Just Smell, Cost, and Penumbral Pendulum. And for some reason, this, I guess they're just chasing down the Shades. This Dwarf Warrior here is getting heavily attacked by the Harpies as they do so. It's definitely costing them, but the Dwarfs are pushing hard on their right flank, pressuring away all of these range units for the Dark Elves. Dark Elves doing their best to kite and fight, scoot and shoot, bolt and bolt, I guess. Anyway. Yeah, the Shades definitely have the speed to get away from the Dwarfs. The Dark Shards are going to have a little bit of a harder time. They're only 33 speed, so they're not that much faster. They are slightly faster, but once the Dwarfs hit their charge animation, will be fairly tough. Yeah, both players are kind of winning their own right flank, whereas, yeah, the center engagement here, yeah, Penumbral Pendulum comes in, does some decent damage to the Bugmans, and I have a lot of armor, so it is a little bit more efficient against them than other units in terms of damage. But, yeah, the Dwarf Warrior here also getting all strung out against the Harpies is pretty bad. Shades maneuvering away, so yeah, it's a little bit of a kite game right now for Dark Elves. Infantry kite, which is probably the most difficult because the difference in speed between the units kiting and being kited is so small. But Shades here, 42 speed, more than enough to stay out in front of the Dwarfs. And, yeah, they're definitely making their presence felt. Gyrocopters are going to charge down and at least temporarily interrupt the Bolt Fiends, but that does allow them to get shot up by a supporting unit of Dark Shards. Let's see what we got here. A little Rune of Wrath and Ruin there, detonating those Shades, sending them flying up in the sky. But it's going to be tough for the Dwarfs to actually make it through here. They didn't really bring a lot of range units on their own, and Bugmans are certainly very effective. They can absorb a lot of damage, but not too much damage. And the Dark Shards and Shades here, 2v1, it's rough for the Bugmans, but now, yeah, Bugmans get set. The Dark Shards do have better shields, so they're going to resist more of the missile damage, or I should say block more of the missile damage. But let's see, looks like Longbeards, Dwarf Warriors getting in there, trying their best to shut down these beautiful black and red Dark Shards. but are facing quite overwhelming odds, it must be said. Bolt Fiends successfully getting away as the Shades cover their retreat. And despite what the balance of power may have you think, the Dwarfs are looking to be in pretty rough shape. We'll see. This kind of density of Bugmans here, this critical mass, not even necessarily a critical mass, but just a high density of Bugmans, as long as they're focusing targets efficiently, could actually get the Dwarfs back and win the game here. Let's see. Shades getting caught up in melee is definitely bad. They're also taking some arrows, bolts rather, at the same time from the Bugmans. Let's see how the rest of the battlefield looks here. We've got these Shades and Dark Shards running around. All the Dwarf Warriors and Miners and stuff here are extremely wounded, so likely to rout very soon. Excuse me. The Shades also very decent stats in melee. Not great weapons, so they don't have armor piercing, but still 40 melee attack is certainly enough to get pretty consistent contact, so as long as these Dwarf Infantry don't have too much HP when they actually come fight the Shades in melee, the Shades should be able to hold their own fairly well. Let's see, though. Yeah, this density of Bugmans is a little bit over-blobbed right now. You'd really want to spread them out just slightly so they all fire more efficiently. Probably could have focused down that unit of Shades by now, because you can see, like, this unit right here in the center especially is basically not even firing at all. Only a couple of the unit models are actually shooting there, so a little bit of an interesting situation, but let's see here. Shades are finally getting into melee. Well, I say finally. They've been in melee a little bit here and there. Now just absorbing the Dwarfs as they move in. And trying their best to finish them off. Thorek is a huge problem, though. I mean, Thorek has both physical and missile resistance, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So he's got 25% physical resistance and 15% missiles. So 40% total mitigation of non-magical shooting attacks, which of course is all of the Shades, the Dark Shards here. So it's going to be painful. They do have a lot of ammunition left, though, on a bunch of units, which should be enough to work through it, but it certainly remains to be seen. Bugman's Rangers also just doing whatever they can to fire at whatever they can. Once again, spread them out, advance them up, and just focus down these Dark Shards and other ranged threats. Let's fast forward a little bit as the Dark Elves do so. This density of Bugmans and Thorek running around trying to finish off various targets. But again, that overblobbing leads to a beautiful opportunity for Penumbral Pendulum, or even like a Vortex spell right now. I mean, obviously, Pit of Shades is not what it used to be, but yeah. I really do think, ultimately, the overblobbing of the Bugman's Rangers does end up costing Nurgle's PA a little bit here. I do think also, I mean, it's hard to predict what your opponent would bring in this matchup. Certainly, like, 9 infantry ranged units can be tough to deal with, but I do think maybe you'd want to go a little bit wider on missiles here. I'm certainly no dwarf expert, but you could maybe stand a couple of these dwarf warriors, try and figure some other funds around, or maybe cut like one Longbeard, one dwarf warrior, take a couple of regular rangers, or, you know, yeah, just something to have some more range counter pressure to be able to fire back at these units. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time.